Fortunately, I'm tall enough to be above the microphone. Sometimes I need to do like this. Okay. Thank you for to the organizer for inviting me. Generally, organizers ask me to come because I have some funny things to tell, so I hope it's going to work. Fantastic. Thank you. So today we're going to speak a little bit about the cultural influences on the gender inequalities. Maybe the first question that we may have is it biological based or not, those inequalities? Well, you could consider that many thousands of years ago, there would be some logic of sharing the jobs because men were supposed to have more muscles, run quicker, and things like that. So it would be quite logical that they would go out hunting and fishing and bring food back to the cavern. And it might be some logic that, well, you need to keep the fire on, you need to take care of the children, and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why, generally, women decided to do that part of the job. So there was a kind of relatively good balance, okay? And you can still find that kind of organization today, but you need to go far in the jungles, like in Africa, in Papua, in Amazonia, or in Andaman Sea and things like that. You can still find that kind of way of life. Now, is male domination universal? Well, the answer is no, because you have as well matriarchal societies where, in fact, it's the women who are ruling the family, okay? And it was the case in the past, but it's still the case today. Here are 6 examples, but you have much more still matriarchal societies everywhere around the world. Now, some animals do the same, like the elephants. Within the elephants, it's always the oldest female who is ruling the family. Now, today, we are not in that kind of environment any longer, okay? And what is hunting today? Hunting is to get income. And what you do is generally to have a job, to have an income, but females are hunting as well. They have as well a job, they are as well bringing income to the family. But what is the problem? Probably is that the men, they keep going for income, but they don't want to share what is left to do. That was traditionally the role of the women. So that's probably the area where we need to balance the thing much better than in the past, because the biological reasons have a little role or no role at all in our modern societies. So can we say, yes, there is some impact of biological factors? The answer is clearly no. And if not, what can explain the differences? Well, the answer is cultures. And culture is acquired at a very, very young age. The day you're born, you start to learn the culture, okay? And that's something that you're going to keep for your entire life. What you are learning before the age of 10 will influence the rest of your life. And how do you do that? But you just copy what you see around you. When you need to learn how to wash your teeth, you don't have your mother there with a PowerPoint presentation. No, you see the way she does it and you're trying to copy. And so before the age of 10, science can prove that the culture fundamentals are deeply engraved in your brain. And who says deeply means that it's driving, in fact, your behavior, but from an unconscious, it's unconsciously driven. So, and that's the reason why it's recognized that education is probably the best way to influence behavior on the long term, on the long run. Now, I would like to keep this in mind for the end of the presentation, but I will come back to this. Now, you probably all know this guy. And he understood very well that you should influence children for the rest of their life. So that's the reason why in North Korea, at the age of 3, 4 years old, you are already dressed as a soldier. 60 years later, that's the result. And all the medals that you can see there is, yes, you did a good job, you did what I told you to do, you are a good boy, and things like that. And you have many good boys there in North Korea. So good boys that you see, they don't have space enough for all the medals. They have even on the trousers, and probably they have it in the back of the jacket as well. I don't have the picture, but... But Kim Jong-un is not the only one who understood that. Unfortunately, Hitler did the same in the past. And nowadays, you can still find this with Daesh. And there, young boys and girls are educated in violence. And that's terrible for the next years, because it's going to stay partly like this in their mind. It's normal to be violent. Now, fortunately, we have the opportunity to evolve and change and adopt other habits. Very recently, a German person working for the European Commission told me the following anecdote. He went for 2 years to Italy, and after 6 months' time he was in Italy. His father came from Germany to visit him, and then they drove from the house where he lives to the center of city, which was about 15 minutes drive. And when they got out of the car, his father said, "But what do you do? You've been using your own 10 times more than me during my entire life." Okay, and then the young man realized that he had been changing his behavior, because he lives in that Italian behavior when you use on much more than you would in Germany, and he didn't realize it himself. It's only his father that made him realize that he's been changing. So we have, yes, the ability to change. Now, if you look here to the gender gap index in 2017, you'll see that in fact where the gap is the smallest is in Scandinavia, on the top there in green. Okay, that's really the place where you have the best equality between men and women. And if you look to another table, the happiness index, well, it's as well the countries where the people declare that they are the most happy in the world. Is there a link or not? I guess it's not maybe scientifically proven, but it's surprising to see that. Now, how can we explain that? Well, Scandinavian countries are known to be the most egalitarian cultures in the world. And not only for gender. So it's namely, several studies show this, but there is one Dutch psychologist who's been proving this very clearly. His name is Geert Hofstede. He wrote several books. And he says you have feminine cultures where what is important is to take care of the others, of what they do, and they're looking for the quality of life, versus what he calls the masculine countries or cultures, where it's driven by competition, achievement. They want to be always the winner, the first, and things like that. And you can see big differences within the countries, and the feminine cultures are mainly in the north of Europe. We're going to see it, and you have masculine cultures in many countries like the USA, China. Japan is probably the highest masculine country in the world. Look to the figures. So the lowest the figure is, the most the culture is feminine. The highest, the more it is masculine in the terms of the way defined by Hofstede. And you see in the north of Europe, it's really the lowest score in the whole of the world. It does have influence on many things, like the children education, the gender equality, the way of life, the management style, the way they resolve conflict, and so on. I don't have time to go in details, but this has been clearly proven. A few examples. More than 1,000 years ago, the king of the Vikings, he came from the north of Europe, of course. Well, he was called the first among the equals. He is not above the others. He's just the first in the line. So it shows how egalitarian they were already 1,000 years ago. Look to the Prime Minister in Sweden. He needs some cash and he's in the queue waiting to go to the cash machine. Okay? He doesn't say, hey, I'm the first, I'm the Prime Minister, I need to be served the first. No, equal to the others. And let me tell you an anecdote of a Brazilian expatriate who now lives in Norway. And he explained that when he was a young boy in Brazil, when adults would speak together, generally they would say to the children, well, why don't you go and play outside in the garden, because it's adult discussion and we don't need you in the discussion. So he would learn that there are inequalities, that children are not equal to adults. Okay? When he came to Norway, he discovered a totally different world where the children are as important as the adults. So when he go to neighbors with his children, the Norwegian, they keep all the kids together with the adults. And one day, someone came to ring on his door and they said, we are making a survey because we are considering to put a new playground in your area. And the man says, yes, okay, I'm prepared to answer your question. And the guy said, yeah, but I don't want to interview you, I want to interview the kids. Okay, so he was so surprised. Equality. Now, the culture is your brain operating system. So it's working for you automatically. You don't even know that it's working, okay? And you have there thousands of things, interactive, changing all the time with different links. It's extremely complex. But let us focus just on two elements that may influence the gender inequalities and the stereotypes. The first one is religion. The religion, whatever, you can take the Muslim, the Christian, the Buddhist, the Jewish, whatever, all the religions tend to establish inequalities between men and women. About the taboos, about the dress codes, about the roles of men and women, about the fact that the female are accepted to be a priest or not, like with the Catholics, or the polygamy or the divorce or repudiation and things like that. And so you have many things coming from the religions. Now, we need to be very prudent with stereotypes, and still everyone in his own logic and his own culture believes that he is right. So look what those two girls think about each other, and they believe they are both right, but they come to a totally different conclusion. Now, we have there as well reasons to hope with the religions. Recently, in Iran, women were accepted to go to a football match. Oh no, that was, sorry, in Saudi Arabia, women were allowed to drive cars, which was forbidden for so many years. And in Iran, women were allowed to go to football matches, which was up to now reserved to men. So yes, there are changes coming. The second factor that I would like to focus today, amongst many others that play a role, is advertising. Advertising is always there. We see advertising all the time on TV, in the newspaper, in magazines, whatever, wall posters, and it does influence us. Now, I'll show you a short video stereotyping the gender differences, and it's a couple of young Dutch people in Amsterdam inviting friends to visit their new apartment.
And now we're back in the living room. And now, bedroom.
Wow.
And...
Okay, well, we all know that it's pure stereotype, but it's used in a funny way. And but you see that when we catch those messages, particularly when we are young, we may say, ah, that's the role of a woman and that's the role of a man. Huh? One will be attracted by garments, the other by beer, okay? No, fortunately, we can change. Stereotyping in the 50s and the 70s was the man was a lazy, dominating man, and husband, and he had a perfect housewife. Like this one. Hopefully, probably you'll never see those advertising in the future, or like this one. Or like this one. That was a time when I was a kid. So I was educated with that kind of view, and my wife as well. And still today, it does influence us, and we have problems to get out of those roles of me dominating. I'm much less than in the past, and trying to share everything with her. But she's a perfect wife. No, in the 80s was less that kind of attitude, was more women are sex symbols. You probably remember that famous campaign in France, Demain j'enlève l'eau. Or, like still today, you can find that kind of horrible advertising. No, there as well, we have reasons to hope. And I will show you a video that I really love. But I'll let you discover it. Oh, yeah, and remember what I said in the beginning? Education is the most effective way to influence behaviors on the long run. No, look.
Attention aux pieds. Fais attention, c'est très très chaud. Alors, qui a du linge à laver? Dring, dring. Allô? Je suis désolée, je peux vraiment pas te parler. Il faut que j'y aille. J'ai une montagne de choses à faire.
Tout ce qu'ils voient, ils copient.
Ok. On s'appelle demain?
Mais est-ce qu'ils apprennent que la lessive n'est qu'un travail de femme?
Non, non, ça va. Ouais, je suis toujours là.
Ou est-ce qu'ils voient leur papa le faire aussi? Partageons les tâches. Toujours conserver hors de portée des enfants.
Now, if a major washing powder manufacturer who are not known for being extremely creative in advertising, they start doing this, it's really a reason for hope for the future. And I hope that many other companies will start adopting that kind of communication. Thank you very much for your attention. And I will now give the word. Well, we're going to have 3 panels now with experts. The first panel will start just now with the moderator, with Jessica Johnson. She's a communication manager at Foratom, but I'm